of the police service in general. And when you have someone like Mzansi, who's heavily involved with Khumalo of crime intelligence, and that's clear from seeing the media release that he did, where he was waxing lyrical about how good Khumalo is.
Crime intelligence boss Dumisani Khumalo of any wrongdoing following an internal investigation. Khumalo, who faces fraud and corruption charges alongside 5 senior officers, appeared in the Pretoria High Court seeking to have his bail conditions relaxed so he can return to work. He's currently barred from accessing any SAPS intelligence premises. The charges stem from the controversial appointment of 30-year-old Dineo Mokwele to a high-level post in crime intelligence last year, despite having no policing experience. In court, Khumalo's lawyer read an affidavit stating the internal probe had exonerated him and that his precautionary transfer had been lifted.
Oops. So that's the latest on the crime intelligence boss, General Dumisani Khumalo, who, as you heard earlier, Paul O'Sullivan refers to him as, his buddies with Umkhwanazi, and Umkhwanazi in his press briefing was singing praises for Dumisani Khumalo. Well, turns out he's been cleared, okay? He's been cleared internally. I can't wait for Paul O'Sullivan to comment on that because he was calling for his suspension, but not only his suspension, all of them, okay? The whole gang of the Untouchables. Now, let me give you an update of the Untouchables. So this is, I'll give you an update of the 3 because there were 6 of them. But then Dumisani Khumalo, I've just informed you, he has been cleared of his charges internally. And by internally, I mean Masemola. So is there something going on under there? Listen, he's been cleared, okay? We were not privy to that internal clearization, so we can only, there's no way for me to have an opinion on that, but I'm listening and watching with caution, okay? I'm going to wait for Paul O'Sullivan to give us the inside information. But at the same time, then I want to drop some tea for you on General, okay, Major General Philani Lushaba. If you remember, he is the CFO over there in crime intelligence. He is actually got a separate case where he had hired a woman who works at night to come and visit him in his home. And, they did some things and then he fell asleep, or she made him fall asleep. And then she left with his cell phone, his laptop, and his firearm. And by firearm, I mean SAPS issued firearm. And then, he tried to conceal the fact that, he had hired someone and then made it seem like it was a burglary, only to discover it was not a burglary. Sir, you had hired a woman to come and visit you. So he was dealing with that case. And then this additional case got added to him when all the other 5 untouchables got 10,000 Rand bail. He was denied bail, and because he had this other case ongoing. So he was supposed to appear again in court on the 13th of August, 2025. But guess what? He secretly got bailed. And by secretly, I mean it was not announced to the members of the public, okay? He just suddenly got bail. He just got bail. He just got bail and he became out on bail like everybody else. We don't know how, okay? And we don't know on what merit, but he was now out on bail. I don't know if Paul O'Sullivan caught wind of that. But the third untouchable I want to talk about is Brigadier Dineo Mokwele, popularly known as the BMW Brigadier. So she's 29 years old. She used to work at BMW, and she moved from BMW straight into a brigadier at SAPS. Let me let Paul O'Sullivan tell the story because he tells it better than I do. Here we go.
They've all been redeployed to other positions. And in the case of the 29-year-old brigadier, she's been told you have to wear a uniform now and you're in charge of visible policing in a part of Pretoria. So you've got a 29-year-old brigadier who previously worked at BMW, never had any police training, never worn a uniform in her life, unless maybe she was in the Girl Guides as a child. And now she's wearing a brigadier's uniform and she doesn't even know how to salute, to the extent that when one guy saluted her, she saluted with the wrong hand. Now that is what's in charge of the visible policing in a large section of Pretoria. And that leaves me realizing that our police service is in a mess. And it's in a mess and has been in a mess for 25 years. And I partly blame that on the Sondo Commission.
It's a very, very interesting interview that Paul O'Sullivan did on Biz News South Africa. So make sure you go watch the full interview there. I just play clips here and there, which, tie my story really well. So basically, that is what the the BMW Brigadier is doing. Okay, she's now part of visible policing. She's so visible, she's in a uniform right now. And I think I would agree with Paul O'Sullivan. I don't think she's happy to be wearing that uniform. Because all of a sudden she's gone from office to uniform, and then now she cannot even salute correctly, according to Paul O'Sullivan. Okay, he didn't give us video proof of that, but so she's back in court as well. She had this to ask the court of. Good guys, you have to hear it again for yourself.
Meanwhile, Mokwele, also asking for her bail conditions to be eased, told the Pretoria Magistrates Court that barring her from her workplace amounts to an indirect dismissal, violating her employment rights. Mokwele and the co-accused remain out on bail as the legal process continues.
So, just in case you are wondering what is going on, so that the bail conditions, remember, they were granted a 10,000 Rand bail, and they were ordered not to enter any premises of crime intelligence. So what that means is when Lieutenant General Dumisani Khumalo, the division, the crime intelligence boss, he has been cleared internally by SAPS, but he hasn't been cleared in the court of law. So do you see how this is kind of a tricky situation? So they're running two concurrent cases. They're being investigated internally in SAPS, and then the court is also, running a case against them. The court has laid conditions of bail, which is you can't go into any SAPS premises. You can't enter any premises of crime intelligence. So if the crime boss, Dumisani Khumalo, has been cleared inside internally, it means he can now come back to work. But if he goes back to work, he's breaking his court bail conditions. So they were back in court to say, hey, could you drop those conditions because he's been cleared internally? And then at the same time, Brigadier Dineo said, yeah, me too. Me not going to work is in breach of my work contract, the contract that I signed with my employer. So again, it's a case of why is the court entering into, again, HR matters? It is such a sticky situation. And I think we're going to see more problems when it comes to Masemola and Shadrack Sevilla, because it seems to me it's going to be the same problem. They are in court battling stuff that is also being investigated inside SAPS. Am I making sense? Let me know in the comment section down below. But let me know your thoughts, okay, on Brigadier Dineo and her saying, well, her not being able to go back into the crime intelligence is a breach of her employment contract. Ma'am, you should have never had an employment contract in the first place. You were not qualified, allegedly, according to this whole corruption done case. But this is a developing story. Let's wait to see what actually happens. So let's listen in. I want you to hear how, back to Paul O'Sullivan, how he describes the relationship between Masemola, Mkhwanazi, and Khumalo. Here goes.
The presentation was psychologically planned by him and Masemola. They joined at the hip, these two. And there's a third party involved in that exercise, and that's Khumalo, the head of crime intelligence, who, by the way, hasn't been suspended. Not one of the 5 generals, the 2 brigadiers, who've been arrested for corruption and fraud and serious offences, not one of them have been suspended, which is very, very strange, because police regulations make it clear that if you're a senior manager and you get arrested on an offence like that, you're supposed to be suspended pending a disciplinary inquiry. Nothing of the kind has happened. And Khumalo was project managing this event in Gauteng that resulted in the seizure of Kat Matlala's cellular phone. What he failed to point out is that Khumalo is a divisional commander of crime intelligence. Crime intelligence should not be involved in any operation whatsoever other than intelligence gathering. So I'm left puzzled as to why Khumalo led an operation to arrest Kat Matlala. I'm not saying Kat Matlala shouldn't have been arrested. There's no doubt he should have been arrested. In fact, he should have been arrested several years ago. If crime intelligence were doing their job several years ago, Kat Matlala would have been arrested long before he or anybody connected to him arranged for the murder of Babita Dekaran, the accountant in the health department that flagged the theft by various individuals from Tembisa Hospital. Now, it's the shortcomings in crime intelligence that has helped to bring this country to its knees. Here we are now, 16 years later, the theft is continuing. And the theft is being carried out by all the people that are running crime intelligence, including the hierarchy of the police, because it's been sanctioned by Masemola, the current commissioner of the police, and some of that cash is finding its way into the illicit operations being run by Mkhonazi in KZN. And I'll come back to that later.
So in conclusion, Paul O'Sullivan actually does have a point, if I do say so myself. They were never suspended. I just told you about Lushava, who literally got bail. We don't know how. It was just silently, delivered to him. And then he's back being a CFO, but then they all can't go to work. So I don't know, are they working from home? But then they're crime intelligence. They can't work from home. They need to go back into the crime intelligence offices. So they're back in court to say, hey, could you change the bail conditions? So, of course, court was adjourned and they will have to go back to ventilate this further. But in the meantime, of the 6, accused number 1, who is Dumisani Khumalo, he's been cleared by SAPS, so he wants to go back to the office. Okay, there's a common pattern. Do you guys pick it up? Everybody wants to go back to the office. I've never met people who want to go back to the office like SAPS employees. Then we have Brigadier BMW, who is saying, nope, this is a breach of my employment contract. The contract that I signed is that I must work at work. Okay, I need to get back into the office. Another one who wants to get back into the office. We also know Sevilla. Tomorrow is the 25th of August. 2 things are happening. Senzimeiwa trial is back, and that's the deadline at 10 a.m. that Shadrach Sevilla must respond in writing to Masemola. I made a separate video earlier, a few weeks ago, and I said that Masemola has poor leadership qualities, and I still stand by that. I still stand by that, because why were these untouchables not suspended at the bare minimum? And then he's having this power struggle as well with Shadrach Sevilla. That wouldn't be happening if he had great leadership qualities, was a decision maker. It seems he just lets things flow to go with the flow, and it's come back to bite him. So this is going to be an interesting week. So stay tuned. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for your support. Remember to go ahead and share this video as well with the last 3 people you chatted with, so they know as well what's going on inside Pagati within the SAPS. SAPS to me feels like it's falling apart. Yeah, it's falling apart, top going down, and it's not looking good. It is not looking good. That is it from me. Thanks so much for watching. If you watched the ads up to this far, thank you so much. Without skipping, I appreciate you for keeping the lights on. And I'll definitely catch you on my next upload. Bye.